That is some kind of candle on the Bitcoin dominance chart. Altcoins, are they getting ready to make a power move? I did this video, you might have seen it back in May 16th. Altcoins officially less risky than Bitcoin. It was one of my most viewed videos on X, almost 400,000 views. People were not happy at all with the video. They heavily disagreed. After doing the video, Bitcoin dominance, in fact, actually fell around 9.5%. And right now, as you see, we are kind of in this uptrend on Bitcoin dominance, making a recovery. I want this to be kind of a part 2 to this video. Altcoins are still less risky than Bitcoin. And I think this is going to be the case for this part of the crypto cycle. This is not something that's ongoing. When this changes, I will do a video that just kind of goes over my opinion on why Bitcoin is less risky. But right now, at this moment of the cycle, our risk models, altcoin charts, cycle data, business cycle data, the Bitcoin dominance chart, everything is suggesting that altcoins are still less risky than Bitcoin. They were less risky than Bitcoin back here. We saw Bitcoin dominance fell around 9.5% after doing that video. But I think the power move for altcoins actually hasn't even happened yet. And Bitcoin dominance is going to go much lower. So hit the subscribe and like on the way in. If you're not in our intelligence system with our risk models, which allow you to plan your exits based on high risk areas or plan accumulation based on low risk areas, get back there. These are proprietary risk models. You can go into your exit planner that's back here and start just integrating it all. Speculate on price, bring into play risk scores, and start planning so that you know when to take profits. I want to start the video on the weekly Bitcoin dominance chart, and then I'm going to look at altcoins briefly, specifically the altcoin or the Ethereum altcoin just chart, because right now, listen, the throwback that just happened on the Ethereum chart, if you put aside everything that I'm going to talk about in this video, this throwback that just occurred on this multi-year triangle that we've been tracking for like months on this YouTube channel, this is so bullish. You can put aside everything I'm talking about in this video. We can just do technical analysis on Ethereum right now. This is so bullish for altcoins. I want to discuss why. But we're going to start on the Bitcoin dominance on the weekly chart. Here's what's going on. There's upside in play for Bitcoin dominance. In the next week, 2 weeks, we could see Bitcoin dominance trend higher. This video is not saying Bitcoin dominance or altcoins are less risky than Bitcoin even in the next week. That's not what I'm saying. The basis for the video is for this continuation of this cycle. Altcoins at this moment are less risky, and I think Bitcoin will do well, but I think altcoins will outperform. Therefore, Bitcoin dominance ultimately on the zoomed out will fall. However, we have, even on the daily, the 20 just hopping its way above the 50, right? Higher highs, higher lows. There's a move in play. Bitcoin dominance, I know it wicked up here, but that might not be it. We might actually just kind of gradually trend up into that wick. Here's the 200-day around 62%. Here is the 20 and 50 on the weekly at around 61%. And this is really what I want to talk about. Bitcoin dominance might make a move to those areas. Let's monitor, let's watch, let's see what happens. There's a strong case for it even when we start dissecting Ethereum short-term analysis, which we're about to get to. But I really want to go over this with you. If we start looking at what I'm talking about in this video, which is risk and momentum and where we are in the business cycle, all of these things. If you just saw what happened, right, over the last, over the weekend, $19 billion in liquidations. So to put it into perspective, the COVID crash was $1.2 billion in liquidations. So here's what gets crazy, interesting, as it relates to altcoin season and everything we're talking about here. If you go back to that just record-breaking liquidation event in March of 2020, so here's March 2020, look what Bitcoin dominance was doing. It was trending right into the 20-week moving average, and look what the 20-week moving average was doing, getting ready to fall below the blue line, the 50-week moving average. So we had a crazy record-breaking liquidation event right here, pulling into the 20 as it's getting ready to fall below the 50. And right now, we have a crazy liquidation event as Bitcoin dominance is pulling into the 20 as it's getting ready to fall below the 50. This to me seems, it could be a complete coincidence, but this reset by the way, the reset of liquidations, all of the longs getting wiped out like that creates so much upward potential for altcoins and crypto in general. But interesting that we just had an event like this right here at this part of the cycle, and we had an event like this right here at this part of the cycle. And this set up the bull run. This set up the bullish business cycle for risk on assets. And right now we are entering a bullish business cycle for risk on assets. And so I think Bitcoin's going to do well. I think it's going higher. I think altcoins are going to do well. And I think altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin. This is why I think Bitcoin dominance is going to continue falling. But now we start looking at risk data. So let me go to Ethereum's risk model. I want to use Ethereum in this case because if we're looking at that Bitcoin dominance weekly chart, right? Yes, we have the 20 falling below, right? At this massive liquidation event, falling below the 50. But there was another moment that happened last cycle. That wasn't just the only moment. We also had that happening here, the 20 falling below the 50. This was, April 2021 that triggered. But going into that move, check it out. Bitcoin dominance pulling into those moving averages. But look at that. February, March, all right here, pulling in to those moving averages. Go to the risk model for Ethereum in February of 2021. It was in the 80s. Look at that. 80 on February 1st. And it went higher. 87, 88, February 18th. The risk score for Ethereum is 47. The purpose of these risk models, and these are proprietary risk models that have a ton of different data that you can read about down here. But the purpose is so that if we're in like just kind of neutral territory, in this case, you can see hold territory. The whole purpose is to just sit back and strategize and prepare and study markets while we're waiting for a power move into the higher risk scores. Because you start getting into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Those are areas where you will want to take profits. And the risk model gives that actionable insight for when that happens, to take profits, to know, to put aside speculation. Don't read headlines. Don't wait for crypto content creators to tell you when to sell. Use data-backed charts to guide you in doing that. Well, the 80s in February of 2021. Right now, we're 47. So the thing about that is, not only do we have such a similar convergence of things happening, right? The Bitcoin dominance chart looking so similar. We have record-breaking liquidations. We have this part of the business cycle that has been delayed, mind you. It's been delayed, and that's why altcoin season, I think, has been delayed and it's taken longer. We have all of this convergence of these things happening. Ethereum is at the same exact type of area at the same time, which is February 2021. What was it doing? It was hovering around all-time high from the previous cycle. And it still had a ways to go to the upside. Right now, if you look at Ethereum chart, what are we doing? We're hovering at all-time highs compared to last cycle. But we're not in the 80s in terms of risk. We're at 47. And so if you go to an altcoin market cap risk model, and I know I've been showing it so much, it's at a 20. It's at a 20. And so you go to February of 2021, last cycle, look at that. It's in the 40s, going into the 50s in February. And the same thing, hovering at all-time high territory. This is why when I look at an altcoin market cap chart, it's not like we're in even the 40s in terms of risk. We're at like 20 in terms of risk on the altcoin model that we have. Now, taking this a step further, I want to integrate some kind of analysis to this. If we go to Ethereum now, as all of this is happening, we've been tracking this symmetrical triangle for quite some time now, right? We even saw it break to the downside, and I was talking about the busted pattern that was in play at this moment. That is fake breakout to the downside, and then boom, we pull back to the apex and break to the upside for a busted pattern. That is incredibly bullish. And so we have that now very much in play. And not only that, we have like a double bullish technical move. And that is, now that we've broken out of the triangle to the upside, we have a throwback to the apex. And this was all involved with that kind of mass capitulation liquidation event that just happened. That triggered the move. So now as we're evaluating what's next for altcoins, we kind of talked about it on the Bitcoin dominance chart. There's room for upside for Bitcoin dominance, even on the very short term. Keep that in mind. But you go to the daily chart, here's how it could play out. We can see the 20 and the 50 moving averages on the daily chart for Ethereum. We got this nice bounce. People get bullish, but like clockwork, we hit like a resistance at moving average areas, right? Especially on a daily chart, especially after we see the 20 falling below the 50. And then we might actually trend down again and maybe start testing these lows again. We'll have to monitor to see if we can put in a higher low. So we have a really nice kind of symmetrical triangle setup really in play at that moment. But right now, that could happen, right? Ethereum, altcoins can fall. Everybody's expecting maybe they just all of a sudden go parabolic. I mean, that's partly unrealistic, I would say, that all of a sudden we got a really nice bounce and we're just going to go parabolic. It could happen. Let's watch headlines too as we step into this new week. But if we get sideways consolidation, this could be an environment even for Bitcoin dominance to actually continue this trend up, right? And everybody's going to start thinking, man, Bitcoin's making the move now. Like this is game on for Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin, right? And altcoins are failing again. But at the end of the day, it could just be a retracement to, in this case, a 200-day moving average, right? It could be a retracement to the 20 as it falls below the 50-week moving average. These are all things that are just very much in play, a very simple technical move for Bitcoin dominance. But with that being said, I think as we zoom out on all of these scenarios, we zoom out on all the speculation, even the data-backed charts that we're using, these models that we're using, these risk models. As we zoom out on all of it, when I look at markets right now, and I look at pro-crypto legislation, I look at the business cycle, I look at altcoins, how undervalued they are. I look at altcoin ETF season, like right here, right now. We are stepping into it, going into Q4, as we enter Q4. I think crypto is going to do very well. And in that environment of crypto doing very well, I think at this moment, even if Bitcoin dominance goes higher in the short term, I think altcoins are still less risky than Bitcoin. Now that will change. And when that changes, especially this cycle, because this is something I really would have liked to do better last cycle, just covering content and also as a crypto investor. I will be dissecting and tracking that when this changes. But this is what I think right now. And again, I could be wrong. I want to just say that like none of this could play out, right? But this is what I see. And I'm just tracking my crypto journey openly with you. And so I appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're not in our intelligence system. With our risk models and our exit planner, you can just get back here. You can price speculate in terms of taking profits at certain areas, visualize what your gains will look like, and then you activate risk mode and you can start really integrating risk alerts so that when scores are reached, like last cycle here, you see, hey, wouldn't it have been nice to get a risk alert at this moment or at this moment? Set the alerts. So when we hit those risk scores, you can be alerted for these different cryptos that are back there. So I appreciate you watching. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Hit that like if you enjoyed this content. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.